is the second deepest naturally occurring ice-free port in the world, second only to the one in Sydney, Australia. It is incredibly deep. Its deepest point in the Bedford Basin is about 78 meters, and it will not freeze over. Now, we entered right next to the Naval Dockyard. We'll see it again on our way out. The Naval Dockyard is the biggest naval dockyard in all of Canada. The gag is that there's only one naval dockyard in Canada. There's two. So take that, Esquimalt, British Columbia. So you guys have probably noticed all day today we have been fighting with the fog. There is a massive fog bank in today, and it's just been throughout the day eating various parts of Dartmouth. On my last tour, we went to go talk about George's Island. Gone. Just wasn't there. I was like, okay, you could just have to imagine like a big mountain in the middle of the harbor. So this is what we've been dealing with today. So much for 24 degrees and sun. Now, Dartmouth, off in the distance there to our left, is Halifax, but is on our left. Halifax, Dartmouth, and Bedford all used to be separate. Two cities and a township, and Halifax County, they were all separate. They were amalgamated on April 1st, 1996, so it is all Halifax now. We just still use the separate names so you know what part of the city you're talking about, really. What side of the bridge are you going to party on tonight, you know? Now, Dartmouth is a really nice downtown, really nice waterfront area there. Also, I know there's no parking in Halifax, especially this weekend. There's always parking in Dartmouth. And you can go park in Dartmouth and then take the ferry across. Big brain. The ferry is the longest running saltwater ferry system in North America. It was started in 1752 by a man named John Owens, and he would take the ferry back and forth. The ferry, at the time, by the way, was a rowboat. The rowboat, has anyone here ever used a rowboat? It's one of the most useless boats in the world. It's like just the shoulder workout. You don't move at all. A rowboat is great if you have nowhere to go, right? So if you would take one passenger at a time, it took anywhere between 2 and 4 hours to cross the harbor. It was not ideal. Another iteration of the ferry used horses that ran on a pulley system. It had a track of 9 horses that would walk on this track, and it would pull a rope that would pull them back and forth across the harbor. And then, of course, the animal rights activists kicked in. You got to give the horses vacation time. And it was just easier to scrap the whole idea. So now we have these ferries. And these ferries, you can see the Halifax terminal. There's a ferry pulling in now in front of us. See, I just want to repeat the whole thing. It's the longest running ferry system. It's $3 to cross the harbor. It now takes about 10 minutes. They run pretty frequently, so you can go back and forth all day if you want. If you pay your fare and get a transfer, a little slip of paper, it's good for 2.5 hours. So if you want to go look around Dartmouth and then you've had your fill, if you want to get dinner and then come back, it's free as long as you show your little piece of paper. All the ferries are named after significant Nova Scotians. The one pulling into the terminal there right now is named after Rita Joe. Rita Joe was a Mi'kmaq poet, best known for her poetry book, I Lost My Talk, in which she documents her experience in the Canadian residential school system. And it is worth noting as well that the last residential school in Canada was in Nova Scotia. It didn't close until 1996, the same year that Halifax and Dartmouth were amalgamated. That was not that long ago. Now, the next thing we're going to see is the oldest wharf on the Halifax waterfront still remaining. It is the Cable Wharf. So this kind of long maroon building is on it here now. And the Cable Wharf was where we stored the large spools of cable that were used to lay the international telegraph system. Today, this is where a bunch of our other boats depart from, including the Core of the Spirit. If you're taking the ferry to George's Island, this is where it departs from. As well, we're running a little promotion today. If you guys want to go on the afternoon at Silva Sail or the Happy Hour cruise later on, it's only $15 since you've been on the Harbour Hopper, so you get a little discount. If you're interested, come talk to me after if you want to book that. So you can see the Harbour Queen there is a Mississippi-style riverboat. I'm going to spoil it for you guys. The little paddle on the back does nothing. Sometimes you'll see it spinning in the opposite direction. It's just there for fun. The tall ship Silva was a Swedish sailing ship in origin, built in 1945. So on the other side of the Cable Wharf, which again is pretty much the oldest boat remaining on the waterfront, or the oldest wharf on the waterfront, is one of the newest. So this big new development is called the Queen's Mark. And the Queen's Mark is offices. The Queen's Mark has a hotel, has some apartments, lots of restaurants, but also some pretty cool art. On this wharf here, you can see that big shiny tower, and that's called the Tidal Beacon. So So at full high and full low tide, that'll glitter and shimmer. It does like a little light show to say that it's low tide. It's also a bit hard to see when the sun is on it the way that it is, but there are these little strips of light that'll indicate where it's at in the tide cycle. So it was dead low, and it's kind of slowly making its way back up now. We only have a 2-meter tide in Halifax. Like a lot of people expect it to be like the Bay of Fundy. It's not that good. 2 meters. Maritime Museum of the Atlantic is on our right. Again, this is one of the must-dos while you're in Halifax. Really cool exhibits on a lot of stuff that I cover briefly on tour, but obviously in much more detail. Some really neat exhibits there on shipwrecks, on disasters that have taken place in Halifax, on history, on lighthouses. They own this green and white boat out in front. That is the Canadian scientific ship Acadia. Acadia was a survey boat built in 1913 that has survived World War I and World War II and was in the harbor during the Halifax explosion. This blue and white boat, another very historic boat, is the HMCS Sackville. The Sackville is the last remaining World War II Flower-class corvette in existence. There were 294 of these originally, and these would go out with convoys used specifically for submarine hunting. Now this one has been kind of restored to its original World War II condition, so you can actually go on board. Anytime the flags are raised on the mast there, you're able to go on and look around. It's a really cool boat. There is a small entry fee that they use basically to maintain the boat. They do repairs on it all winter. This whole area of the waterfront's been completely redone over the past few years with a big new beer garden. This has all been built out quite a lot, which was very helpful. Last weekend we had a Sail GP, so we're still doing some teardown from it now as they take down the bleachers. Sail GP is a international hydrofoil sailing competition. This was its second year in Halifax. It'll be back again next year as well. Further down the waterfront is Pier 21 and the Immigration Museum, also kind of disappeared from view. The waterfront keeps going on for like a lot further. It's just gone now. So Pier 21 was the point of immigration to Canada, basically starting from the First World War until the early 1970s. Just about 1 million people immigrated to Canada in that time period. Some immigrated here, some came over as war brides. And if your family came to Canada in that time period, their records are at the archive at Pier 21. So you can go track your family and like print off the documentation and papers. They make for a really good gift, by the way, as well. Out in the water is George's Island. It'll be on our right as we turn a bit more here. George's Island is Citadel Hill, but in the water. So they had their own fort on top called Fort Charlotte. Again, where we weren't